Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy and welcome to our collective new normal, which is wearing face masks, right? I think most states have got mandatory face mask rules in effect so that if you want to go out in public and do something, you are required to wear one of these bad boys. And so because of that, I have gotten so many questions and requests from viewers to do a video on how to make your makeup last underneath your mask, or what kind of makeup you should wear to enhance your eyes, since that's the only part of you that's going to be showing. So I've tried to tackle both those things in this video. I'm not really doing a tutorial here, but in my usual way of doing things, I did some experiments. I'm going to show you each of the 4 different ways that I tried to get my foundation to stay on during the day while wearing a mask. And then I'm also going to give you some tips and tricks for how to highlight and accentuate your eyes so that at least the part of your face that's showing looks pretty while you're wearing a mask. So this video has been so requested by so many people, particularly people in the healthcare field, those frontline workers who have to wear not this kind of mask, but like the serious, doctor, nurse masks all day, every day. And so I really wanted to take that request seriously because we owe everyone who works on the front lines in the medical field such a debt of gratitude for everything that they're doing to keep us safe every day. And can I also say, not only thank you so much for doing your job and doing what you do, healthcare workers, but I don't know how you survive in these things all day long. I think the longest I could wear it at a stretch was about 4 hours, and I must be a little bit claustrophobic because I felt like I was suffocating. I was like, oh my God, I've got a huge pounding headache. I'm not getting enough air to my brain. It's hot, it's steamy, I can't take it, I can't breathe. I'm so dramatic. And so seeing people wear these things for 8, 10, 12 hours a day for their shift, and it's just amazing to me. So complete hats off, all props to you guys. So anyway, let's get into the video. I tried 4 different ways of applying makeup to make it last in that steamy microclimate, and I had various levels of success. So let me just walk you through each one of them. We'll talk about that, and you can kind of pick and choose which aspects of each one might work better for you depending on how much makeup you want to wear. Since my masks don't have the little metal on the nose that really makes it conform to your nose and then across the cheeks, I ended up trying to wear glasses with the mask every time, whether it was sunglasses or my regular glasses. And whenever I wear my glasses, I always get a ton of requests for the frames, so I'll link the frames in the info box below the video, along with the masks and all the makeup and sunscreens and everything that you're seeing in today's video. All right, so the first method I tried, my daughter suggested, she had seen this on TikTok. Apparently it's a viral video on how to make your makeup stay on all day, really be locked down and ready for action. And I thought, oh, perfect, this is going to be a one and done, right? So I went ahead and tried this method. Well, let me just warn you, it uses a lot of makeup. So the premise behind this is that you put on some moisturizer and then you have to make a barrier or a seal between your moisturizer and your makeup. So instead of moisturizer, I of course put on my sunscreen. The sunscreen I used there was one that doesn't look good on its own but works great under makeup and is very much like a primer and really helped the makeup to last a lot longer. And that is the Clinique Prep Step sunscreen. And then you're supposed to put on a layer of setting powder on top of the moisturizer while it's still a little bit damp. I used Jeffree Star Magic Setting Powder. Then you hit that with a heavy dose of setting spray. I used Too Faced Hangover RX 3-in-1 setting spray, and then you wait for all that to dry. So that is supposed to be your first seal everything into your skin layer. Then you go in with primer. So I used a new primer that day. I used the Dermablend Instagrip Jelly Primer because this is supposed to lock your makeup onto your face. So I went ahead and used that and put it on, not my entire face, but just did the spot treating on the end of my nose, my chin, my cheeks, places where the mask is going to rub. And then you go in with your foundation. I used Estee Lauder Futurist foundation, which is kind of a luminous foundation, but lasts really, really well on my nose. The recommendation is to put the foundation on with a blending sponge because that really presses it into the skin and helps it to meld and become one with the primer. Then after you got the foundation on, then you add another coat of setting powder, and then you add another coat of setting spray. I used Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and that is supposed to lock you in and keep your makeup on all day. I started coming back to the camera like after an hour and then after 4 hours. So after an hour, I gotta say, it still looked really, really good. This makeup looked in place. It was barely worn off on my nose or my chin, and it still looked great. And I thought, oh yay, this is gonna be the one. Then I came back after continuously wearing the mask for another 4 hours. So it's 5 hours total time. And as you can see, the makeup is still in place really, really well across the tops of my cheeks. There's barely any wearing off there, but there is a little bit of pink showing through at the end of my nose and on my chin. I gotta say, I don't love how the makeup looks at this point. I feel like it looks heavy, it looks cakey, it looks really oily and kind of sliding around. So not really my cup of tea, but if you like more of a heavier makeup look, then this could be a solution for you because I do think that it did work pretty well. So the second day, I decided to try going with a more dry approach. So, you know, I always have to use my sunscreen, so I chose two very dry sunscreens, and I put one on each side of my face just to do a little experiment to see if one worked better than the other. So on one side of my face, I used my Sunprise Mild Airy Finish sunscreen, and then on the other side of my face, I used the Australian Gold SPF 50 tinted face lotion, and they both leave a really, you know, like not goopy finish. They're two of the sunscreens that really like dry and set, and they feel set. And then for the foundation, I decided to use a much lighter weight, much drier, much more matte foundation. So I used my Chanel Ultra Le Tint Velvet and applied this like I normally do with my fingers to start. And then I used my Clairsonic brush because this doesn't turn, it vibrates, and so this also really pushes the makeup like into your skin. Instead of doing a light powdering, I decided to try baking it, and so I gave it a little bake on my cheeks and on my nose, but I didn't bake my chin because I wanted to compare if it would last better on baked skin versus not baked. So baking is when you add a heavier layer of setting powder and you let it sit on the skin, and it kind of heats and locks together, and it's supposed to really lock your makeup in place. So I baked for 5 minutes, and I brushed away the excess, popped on the mask, came back after an hour to see how it was wearing, and I gotta say I was really pleasantly surprised that there was virtually no makeup inside the mask after the first hour. The makeup looked really, really good using this method, especially on the end of my nose and across my cheeks where I had done the bake. It looked a little bit more worn off to me on my chin where I didn't bake. That can be helpful for some people who are just wearing their mask to run errands and go to the grocery store, and then when they get home they still want their makeup to look good. So then when I came back after another 4 hours, so 5 hours total, I still thought this one looked pretty good. It was definitely a little bit more worn off on the tip of my nose, but nothing too terrible. And my chin didn't look too bad either. Can't say that I really see a difference between the two sides. I'd say that they're both wearing about the same, both sides of my nose seem to be worn off about the same, so the sunscreen doesn't really seem to be making that big of a difference side to side. What I noticed through most of these is that after the 5 hours of wearing the mask, it looked like the makeup after 10 or 12 hours normally without wearing a mask. So it definitely does shorten the wear of your makeup on the tip of your nose and on your chin, the places that touch the mask. All right, for my third experiment, I decided to use my regular sunscreens, my favorites, which are the Elta MD UV Elements mixed with a little bit of Paula's Choice SPF 30 Super Light. I waited for that to dry and set for 20 minutes. Then I just went in with some Bare Minerals Matte Powder Foundation for just a light look. All right, so after wearing the mask for the first hour, I took the mask off, There wasn't really any wear on my nose or my chin, and I thought that overall it looked really good. So after another 4 hours, so 5 hours total, I felt like it looked like all the other days where it basically was in place on my cheeks, but getting a little pink on the end of my nose, so starting to wear off on my nose and a little bit worn off on my chin, but overall not bad. So then for my last day of experimenting, I thought, let me ditch the foundation completely and just try my most long-lasting tinted sunscreen, the one that like you really have to scrub it off at night or use an oil to remove it. I thought that this would be perfect because it's tinted, so it kind of evens out your skin tone and looks a little makeup-y, but isn't like a full-on foundation that would then rub off on the mask. And so that sunscreen is the one that I used before in day 2. It's the Australian Gold Botanical Tinted Face Sunscreen SPF 50. But the one that I used on day 2 was the original formula. This one only came in one shade, and so it was a little bit light for me. But I just noticed like a week ago that they've released new shades in this. And so I had ordered this from Ulta and it finally came in. And so I used this on the last day. So let me show you me applying this. All right, my sunscreen is dry and set. I love this sunscreen, and this tint is really perfect. God, I love the new formula with the new tint, yay! And then I'll go ahead and put on the mask and wear it. That day I drove into Boston to drop off some stuff to my daughter, so it was about an hour and a half rather than just 1 hour. But I was so disappointed when I took the mask off because this was definitely like the worst of the 4 days, where the other ones, everything still looked really, really good after an hour. On this day, my nose was bright red after just an hour and a half. So that was a bummer. It still is a great sunscreen and I love the new tint on it. This is still the lightest shade, then this is the middle shade, and then there's an even darker shade. So shades for everybody in the Australian Gold now. So those were my 4 days of experimenting with makeup. Any of the first 3 days of experiments, I feel like they worked really well, especially for keeping your makeup on for an hour or two. You know, so if you wanted to run an errand and then come back and still look nice, you could do that. You know, definitely if you're a healthcare professional and you're wearing your mask for 12 hours a day, I don't know of a way to keep your makeup on in that steamy little microclimate. Just from a how it looks standpoint, I feel like the day using the Chanel definitely looked the best after the 5 hours in the mask overall. But second place and a close runner-up to me was the Bare Minerals. I feel like that looked really good, and this would be a lot easier to bring with you and just bring a brush and just touch this up later in the day when you take your mask off. So then the other things that I wanted to talk about were just how to accentuate and play up your eyes when you're wearing a mask, because you know, you can have a mask on and you can still look plenty pretty if you just put a little eye makeup on. And so I think the way to accentuate your eyes is definitely to start with your eyebrows. Your eyebrows are the frames for the face, and you know, putting on just a little bit of brow makeup really helps to frame the face and to help your eyes pop. So number one, I would be sure to touch up your brows or fill them in or use a little brow pomade. I actually used 2 brow products today, both by Glossier. These are my 2 favorites. If you have sparse spots and you're lacking a few brow hairs, I would definitely use the Brow Flick. This is like a felt tip pen, and you can literally draw on brow hairs. And my brows tend to start out a little further, so I actually draw in hairs here. And then in order to keep them in place, you can use the Glossier Boy Brow. This is more like a brow gel or a brow mascara, and this is great for holding your brows in place and also bulking up the brow hairs that you do have. Then I'd be sure to wear at least mascara and maybe some eyeliner. If you're a no makeup person, you're not going to go ahead and do an eyeshadow look, and that's fine. I do the water lines on both my upper and lower, and then I also do eyeliner above my lashes, and then I put on mascara, and I think that just helps to make the eyes pop. What I've noticed through my years of doing makeup tutorials here on YouTube is that the darker the eyeliner you use, the bigger your eyes look. And you don't have to use black all the time. Like the one that I'm using today is this gorgeous navy blue by Marc Jacobs, and this is such a beautiful eyeliner, and it's just kind of off black. And if you can afford like the Marc Jacobs, there are other other great eyeliners that aren't black either. Like this is the Essence Extreme Lasting eyeliner in But First Espresso, and this is a dark grayish brown that looks really great. It's not as harsh as black, but just having a darker eyeliner, especially on the uppers, will really help to make your eyes pop and make them look a lot bigger. I can link some of my other videos. I've got one on how to use eyeliner to make your eyes look uplifted, and actually in that video it really illustrates how a dark eyeliner makes your eyes look really a lot bigger, because on the don't eye in that video I just did a black raccoon eye, and a lot of people preferred that eye just because it looked bigger. So I'll link that video in the information box below, as well as up here under the cards, and I'll also link a few other eyeshadow tutorials, some very simple, maybe one that's a little bit more complex, just to show you a few different looks that you can get. Alright, so sorry I wasn't able to come up with a 100% foolproof way to make your makeup last all day wearing a mask, but I honestly don't think it's possible, but definitely touching up is an option. Wearing no makeup is of course an option, and just wearing eye makeup is another option. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, found it helpful and informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.